Pre-songs. I'm ready to get real clear. Like, thank you. Shout out to everybody who's been checking the video out, sharing it, subscribing to the channel. Of course, I don't monetize off of it. The only reason why I share that, and one day maybe I will, but the only reason why I share that is because I don't want you guys to think that I'm saying certain things for any other reason other than trying to make sure other marriages, husbands, wives, aren't really derailed by some of the things that I was derailed by. I was having a conversation with my sister. I told her the next video I want to do one about being a Christian and separated. But the only thing is, right, like, that's something I'm in the midst of right now. It's kind of hard for me to tell you how to walk through something that's kind of like, it's difficult for me. It's new to me. But more than anything, I believe God to do what he sees fit, what he knows is best for all parties involved. It's a scary place to be. It's definitely a lot easier to say it than to actually be there. Just shout out to my incredible wife. This is actually, crazy enough, this is actually her book. Reading this book for me was really difficult because I basically just become a Christian 2019. If you know me, then you know I've been raised in the church. I've been around it my entire life. I went to a Christian private school. If you look around in the world we're in, there's a guy, I don't know the name of the group or anything like that. There's a guy who basically lived a life. I think his parents might have been pastors or worship leaders. He played in a band, a very popular band. I won't name the band, but he played in a very popular band, Christian band. But he had been in the church his whole life, and he recently just walked away from the band. I can't say he walked away from the faith because it was something that he was never really introduced to. This guy was I think he's older than me. But he's made lots of money off the Christian culture, played a lot of youth groups and things of that nature, but he really never encountered Christ. So if you're one of those people who do have a real relationship with Christ, congratulations. It's amazing. It's a blessing. It's nothing for you to boast about, but it's something to be thankful about every day. But anyway, so I started reading this book 2019. A little background story about me. I basically had my foot on the gas for divorce for about 2 or 3 years. I want to say I had some stuff going on in my marriage. At the beginning of it, I harbored unforgiveness and I allowed myself to be blind. And basically, I went on a ship of trying to destroy my marriage, basically screaming and pleading for divorce. Even was unfaithful to my wife. Fast forward to 2019. 2019 comes around. This is a year that I was definitely supposed to be getting a divorce from my wife. We were separating at this time. So basically I was living with my parents, and I said the most genuine prayer I had said up to date at that point. It was a real prayer of like crying, and not crying, but pleading. I basically said, God, it's getting real. I am not equipped to do this. I need you, because I wasn't thinking about my marriage. At this time, my marriage was over, kaput, finished in my mind. My wife had found out. My wife had found something out, and then I began to confess some things to her, and she was just completely done. So the marriage part was over, and mind you, at this time, I'm like, yo, my foot was still on the gas. I was completely done, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to need your help raising these kids, God. So I said the most genuine prayer I had ever said at that time, something I really felt. I need help raising these children. God, please help me. And the only thing I had heard was fix your marriage. That's all I heard. Like, it's weird to say I heard. That's the only thing I felt. And that was the first time I had ever felt heard anything in my life. And that's one of the things that I would literally, that's something that I would die on, because I know how real that moment was. If you've ever been through something like that, it's life altering. It changes everything very quickly. It's hard to explain to people, especially people. You have to understand, my foot was on the gas. Matter of fact, yo, any of my homies that are watching this video, if we're on YouTube, IG, comment. Let the people know how hard my foot was on the gas for separation. So that situation happens. I'm literally praying, and I rush into my wife's room. And I say to her, we just moved back to Georgia, and I say to her, basically, I'm on my knees pleading. At this point, I don't even know why I'm pleading. The only thing I know is I've just had a situation happen that I never experienced before in my life. And I knew it was God. So I was like, I'm pleading with her. I'm like, yo, please, 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 please. Now, mind you, she's like, what? I think, had she just got a job? I can't remember if she had just got a job, but I believe she had just gotten a new job. We had just started to relocate. So basically the timing was very weird. The husband I was before made what I was saying very hard to trust. It makes what I say now very hard to trust, right? And we try to go to counseling, but at this point, honestly, my wife was pretty much done at this point. I messaged her pastor at the time, and I'm like, hey, it's like 12:30 at night. Like, this all literally happened in one night. If you've ever had a moment where you encounter God, where he actually speaks to you, it changes everything. It's impossible not to be changed because you've never experienced that. Like, hold on. I knew I was gonna get parched. There's a lemonade one, so I brought two because lemonade actually makes you more thirsty, I think. All right. Got a little left. So, I wrote my pastor. My wife had just got a new job. She was going to be leaving soon for a couple of weeks or a couple of days. No, a couple of days, I'm sorry. Wrote my pastor, told him, hey, when can we start marriage counseling? Is it possible? My wife had been trying to get me to start for a long time, but because I wasn't ready, because I was so blind to anything else at the time, I refused. Refused. So he's like, hey, well, we can't start now. We can start when Tina gets back, if she's okay with it. But he gave me some books to read. And crazy enough, this happened to be one of them. This is The Meaning of Marriage by Timothy Keller and Kathy Keller, his wife. And so he gave me like some titles to read. And I clicked this one, and I'm like, man, this book looks familiar. So this is a book that my wife was clinging to before. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but it actually has like some of her notes in it and stuff like that. So this is a book that she was like, she was trying, she was really trying to hold out. She was trying to hold on. And sorry. And so this is a book, and she was really trying to. This is a book she was really. There's so reading through here at the beginning, right? Like going through her notes and things like that was really, really tough for me. After the situation happened where I said a prayer and I started reading this book, and I started to see myself for the person I really was at the time. It's like all of a sudden the smoke of everything had lifted, right? Like I started to really see what I really was at the time. This book, the reason why this book actually saved my life is because although I had prayed and heard from God, I really hadn't given my life to Christ fully. This book wrecked me because it started to show me the meaning of marriage. it started to show me the meaning of marriage, because the reason why marriage is difficult, more difficult than when you're in like when you're dating with somebody, even just living with them, is because marriage is actually marriage is meant to reflect and kind of parallel the relationship that God has with us, like Christ to the church. It even says, husbands, love your wife as Christ to the church. What does that mean? We're talking about somebody who sacrificed his life, died for the church, died for the same people that were crucifying him. You know, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. These are the people that were, you know, trying to destroy him. So the reason why this book got me to where in my mind I was like, whoa, this is kind of crazy, because it points out the parallels. Like, so I started thinking, like, wait a second, this is what God wants me. This is the kind of love that God wants me to show to my wife. But see, what it does first is it starts to tell me the kind of love that God shows me. And where it shows me where God kind of meets you exactly where you are, and he loves you right there. So as God is showing me all these things about myself, and then it's not from a judgmental standpoint, it's from a standpoint of, I know these things about you. The things that other people know, and the things that nobody else knows but me and you. I know these things, and I love you. And it was like, wow. And at that point, that's when I really accepted Christ into my life, and my life has been wrecked ever since.